What's good, music producers? It's Curtis King of Curtis King TV, and today I have a highly requested tutorial to show you how I make my own drum breaks, how I make them sound super vintage and make them sound super swingy, just really putting my own personal touch on them. You're gonna enjoy that. If you've been having questions about it, let's talk about it. Okay, music producers, first and foremost, let me just say thank you for clicking on this video today. Whether you're looking for any kind of producer-related content, we provide that all the time here. If you enjoyed today's video, definitely hit that like below. And if you like the kind of style that I teach this with, definitely hit the subscribe button and check us out as we put up new content all the time. Now, this has been a highly requested tutorial amongst my producer community. They've been asking me, like, how do you capture such a vintage sound using pretty much stock sounds or any live sounding drums? How are you able to create these drum breaks and you're not a drummer per se? And I tell them, I say a lot of it has to do with what types of sounds you use to start off with, how much headroom you give yourself when it comes to these sounds, and then also just applying some plugins in a non-traditional way and traditional way to capture that sound. And so I want to show you how to do that. I'm actually going to be using two different drums. One's going to be from a contact library that is the funk version of the vintage drummer, and the same thing can be achieved here in the FPC. Matter of fact, let's start off with FPC first. If you go to open up FPC and you go to presets, they have a few different acoustic presets, and I like to really mess around with the acoustic when I'm talking about adding other flavors on top of it. A snare is coming in really, really damn crispy. There's a few other instruments I would have liked to see added to this, but it's all good. That's where the other one is going to come in contact. So, no pun intended. Okay, one of the first things that I do once I know what I want to actually mess around with sound-wise is open up Edison. Edison is just going to basically record anything that comes through that master channel. Every sound's getting recorded as long as I have it on start on input. So we're going to actually press record, and we're going to bring down the volume. This is very important when you're talking about adding effects over the top of it. You want to give it some headroom. So let's actually turn this down just a smidget to about 70, I say, or 69. Now that we have that, we can test this out, Edison, to make sure it's recording. And literally what I do to come up with these ideas is I just kind of just play around with the sounds and see what tempo comes to me. We're not going according to any metronome, we're just playing. What's important when you finally find the loop and you're excited about what you've already created, you want to make sure that you play at least one extra loop after it, just so you have some clean points to end and begin the loop on. I want to show you exactly what I mean here. So I like what I created here towards the end, and I can tell these higher transients are definitely the snare. So let's start off with this being the beginning kick. So I can see right here, it's pretty much where I want to get this complete loop. And we're just adding one layer at a time. But I like to start off with this one in Edison because at least we're going to get a really accurate idea of the swing that comes most natural to you as you're sort of doing your own finger drumming inside of here. And it's okay if some things are a little bit late, or if they're a little bit fast. The whole idea is to just see where that swing is at and then tweak some things if necessary. But I think for the most part, this one is sounding really good as a base to start off with. So let's go ahead and detect the tempo. It says about 142. Let's go here to 142. And I want to see where it falls here. Now that I'm happy with that, what I want to do now is start to add some patterns over the top of it, because there's some other things that I'd like to add to it. But I just want to make sure that we give it like some other textures, because this is cool to start off with. But if we're going to really get the most out of it when we start to pitch it down and pitch it up and use the effects, we want to add extra layers to it. So let's go ahead and do that. We're actually going to open up this contact library because it has a lot of sounds. Loop it around, add another layer. Now that I have that laid down, something I like to do is sort of quantizing it, but not so much that it loses its life. So I'll push Alt-Q when I'm in the piano roll of what I just recorded, and I'll choose one of these quantizing presets like Loose Feel, I like Hip Hop West Side, I also like some of these humanizing presets that are found here in the grooves. For this one though, I think we're going to use loose feel, and we'll see what that sounds like as we play it. That's decent. Let's see drummer swing. So I kind of like this. I kind of like this first part, so what I'm going to do is just copy that over. Let's lay that snare down really quick. Sweet, we got that. Let's keep on adding more layers. All right, actually, let's get a cool little quantize on this one. We're actually going to use a different preset on this one. Let's go to humanizing presets. Let's go to grooves, and let's go to late snare. Just adding more layers. Let's get some more of that in there. And you don't have to quantize everything, obviously, but I just want to make sure that it stays consistent with what I'm playing. So you just basically finding pockets that make sense. You've heard drumming before, even if you're not a drummer. You know what sounds right and what doesn't. So let's keep on adding it. All right. So I'm probably gonna do some manual adding of some more toms. I'll take that. Now, what's important is that whatever sounds you do add, you get the leveling right first, because we're going to do a lot of consolidating to make sure all these sounds are glued together and we can affect them the same exact way. So now consolidate all these sounds together by highlighting them all and pushing Control-Alt-C. Okay, now that that's consolidated down, we can start to add some of the effects. I'm going to show you the FX chain that I use, but before we add these effects, we got to make sure that this sounds good in different pitches, because, you know, when producers use these drum breaks, they're going to want to pitch them down, pitch them up. So I actually want to test it out and see if it sounds better pitched down 200 cents. Let's see. Because when you're talking about adding that vintage texture to these drums, pitching is something that definitely gets affected by a vinyl being worn out, sort of that flutter and wow effect that you see on a lot of the plugins. And so we want to make sure that we tweak that first before we start adding plugins on top of it. Now that we already pitched it down, I'm happy with that pitch. Let's actually go here to an open channel. Let's actually start first with Smack Attack. Smack Attack is basically going to make sure that the drums are coming through really, really clean without having to actually peak over the zero. So they're gonna sound a lot louder than what they actually are. It's just basically a transient shaper that you can get from Waves called Smack Attack. So that being said, let's go ahead and just run it through without anything on it. Put the clip, run to about 50%. Take the attack up. Now that we have that going, we can actually move this down further on the FX chain so we can add the other ones. The next one that I would add to add a little bit of an 8-bit texture to it is this plugin called Byte by Native Instruments. I generally use this preset called Vintage Playback. We're gonna play it without it, then play with it on it, just so you can hear what it sounds like. That's without it. Now let's add it to it. So you're seeing a little bit of that saturation and color come through, and it just has a little bit more smack on the snares. Now that I have that, the next thing I'm gonna do, surpriser, not Tay Boy. I'm going to actually add RC20 to this and use it in unison with Tay Boy. So there's a preset that I created here called Dirty Ass Snares. And basically what it is basically their white noise that they have on there. I think it's like pink noise that they have on there. I can actually show you, but the knob here is only turned to like 34%. You press OK, take the tone down till about, or take the tone up till about 5.7. You have it following about 80%. You have it ducking about 40, and then the flux is up just a tad bit. But the whole idea is that it's going to add an extra air on top of the snare. You'll hear it right now. Let's check it out. At this point, it's really about preference. Now, the last one I would add, and it's kind of a bonus one, I just want to really test it out to see how it would sound over the top of everything going on. But probably going to open up my plugin, which is Tay Boy, tayboyplugin.com. So I took out a little bit of the highs here, and I actually messed a little bit with the analog warmth, and it's really giving me the sound that I want to get. I mean, aside from this, I'm sure most producers, especially if you're using it for like, I don't know, probably wouldn't use this in lo-fi, but for whatever you're using it for, they'll probably end up turning it down. But that's the way that I would have it. Once it's done, then I would consolidate this one more time. And now you have your end result. Let's check out some other pitches just to see what it sounds like now that it's been stretched out a little bit more. All of those sound dope. And that, for me, that's like the ultimate test. If I can test it out in different pitches and it still sounds really good, or it sounds like it can inspire different genres, I know that that's a drum break that's ready to go. Sometimes I'll add glitch to it to kind of add some effects to it. But for the most part, there is your drum break. And then from there, you just click on it and save as, and then add it to your folder. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Music producers, thank you for watching today's video. Was that helpful for you? Let me know. If you want to see more videos, definitely leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, definitely hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Like I always say, in this life, you will not be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. Once again, it's Curtis King of slapexperts.com, which you can get a whole bunch of free drum breaks and all that good stuff, and Curtis King TV. Have a good one. Peace.
Look up, Nazi. Say cheese.